There are people who live one life, and then there are people who live many. Some build companies, some build families, some build cities that disappear into dust. Tonight's guest has crossed more borders than most of us will ever stand near. Navy officer, Burning Man devotee, engineer and mystic, strategist and novelist, motherer and wanderer. She's returned to the same desert more than 20 times, not to escape the world, but to understand it. Not to escape the world, but to understand it. What does it mean to build something that's meant to vanish? What does it mean to belong to a place that does not exist? And what happens when the story waits 20 years before it's ready to be told? This is Doyle. You're listening to Spirit Talk Show, Bedtime Stories for Grown-Ups. This is a place where we slow down and talk about what life has really meant. Not just a resume, not just the achievements, not the polished public version, but the hard parts, the turning points and the moments that changed us. The parts that still cling to us long after everything else has moved on. Tonight I'm honored to welcome Sarah Marshall, explorer, Navy veteran, engineer, Burning Man village contributor, strategist, mother, and now the author of Playa Dust in My Soul. Sarah has lived between worlds that rarely speak to each other. Military and mystic, systems architect and spiritual seeker, leader and artist. And in her novel, born from more than 20 years of lived experience, returning to the playa, she asks a deeper question. What does transformation really cost? And who do we become when the structures fall away? Hello.
Hey, Doyle, how are you?
Hi, I'm here with, I got Howie on my right, and I got a Russ on my left here. So it's not just, hello. When you hear the voices, it's not just my multiple personalities, I promise. So, well, thank you.
I didn't realize I was coming into a panel. This will be fun.
Well, typically it's just like Howie with me and Russ. He's my transient a guest host sometimes. I don't know if I use the word transient right, but so wow, you've worn a lot of hats in your life: naval service, engineer, Google AI, Burning Man leadership, spiritual practice, and so what have you learned about like identity from living like this cross-border person?
Yeah, you've just described my entire being, is that I have equally don't fit in any good category. So I comfortably move from category to category and find a comfortable place in it. I've often said I'm as comfortable in a biker bar as I am in a black tie affair. So it fits my personality to have that experience.
Yeah, it's like this liminal thing that you're this person that equally exists as a strategist for the army, but then a spiritualist, right? Things that don't typically go together. Wow, that's really interesting.
And do you find that you feel that you're the same in each of those, or do you sort of code switch depending on the environment you're in?
There is a little bit of code switching. I would say generally my personality is the same. I can be comfortable anywhere that I am. But I would say that I try to tap into whatever the culture is that I'm at and try to engage that culture. For example, if I'm in Japan, I will be a lot more buttoned down about the way I present myself in, say, a work situation than I would be certainly at Burning Man, or if I'm climbing up to a mountain in Peru. I'll be very different in the way I expose myself, but my personality is the same in every place.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, it sounds like you may have been to Machu Picchu or Cusco at some point in time.
I have, and I was thinking of I climbed up a Montana de Machu Picchu right behind Machu Picchu one day, and that was quite a trek.
Did you do the Inca Trail, or did you go the lower altitude route?
I didn't do the whole thing. I did part of the Inca Trail.
I went years ago, but I stayed at the 8,000 to 9,000 feet. I didn't dare go up to 14,000.
Well, I was supposed to go 2 years ago. I had a trip planned with friends, and then there was some civil unrest in the country at the time, so we went to Barcelona and Amsterdam instead. But I'm definitely going to go in the next few years. It's on my plan. So before you came on, we were talking about Playa Dust, in my soul, which is your book, and we were talking about Playa means beach. Is Playa the name of the place where they do Burning Man?
So if you look at the cover of the book, you will see the playa. It's a lake bed on 100-mile long alkali lake bed. So there is nothing out there. There is dust and hard earth and nothing. No weeds, no bugs, no anything. So yes, it's called the playa because it is very much a beach, just an extended one with no water.
Yeah. And I know some people who've done Burning Man and do it religiously. And it's, to me, I've wanted to do it many times. I've come this close to going. But now as I get older, it seems like there's water out there. Do you have to bring all your water out? You're living out in the dust for a few months. And isn't there like 70,000 people there? They build a whole like city for that period of time.
So the first year I went, there were, I think, 18,000 people. And there is now 80,000 people. And you're right, it is the fourth largest city in Nevada for about a week. And you're absolutely right. There's 10 principles under which the event occurs. Two of them are radical self-reliance and gifting. So you literally, to be radically self-reliant, have to take everything you need, water, food, shelter, everything, and ensure that you take care of yourself, having brought everything, and then also bring a little bit extra for contribution to other people for gifting.
And I think there's different, because I know somebody who goes and his job is fixing RVs, right? So there's people who go kind of and live it kind of a little bit luxury, and there's people who probably sleep in tents, right?
Yeah, and I'm assuming that the person you're talking about actually gets paid to do that, that they have some kind of contract to go out and work on the RVs, or is that?
I think he's a participant in Burning Man, and he's gone for years, and I think he goes there and he gets some kind of contribution from people for helping them fix their RVs.
So there is no buying, selling, or bartering out there. That's the gift economy, the second principle I was mentioning. And what he's probably doing is that's his contribution, is he's supporting others by fixing their RVs. I know somebody who fixes generators on tap.
Okay.
So it's whatever you want to provide, and that just happens to be the service he provides when he goes out there.
So you've returned to the playa more than 20 times. So what keeps you going back?
Yeah, it's not the party. It's not the dancey music. It's the connections. So I'm part of a village. In fact, I was mayor of the village for years. But I'm part of a village, and I've camped with, I was looking back over my rosters, and I've camped with over 2,000 people over the years that have come into and gone out of the village that I was in or am in. And what brings me back is that extended family, that chosen family that I have out there, that I can spend time with them, that I can let my hair down and be in that place that forces me to look at life a different way than I normally do.
Yeah, I was thinking about a lot of people build things because they want to have permanence and they want to show people something built. I wonder, like Burning Man builds a city that disappears. Has that taught you anything about permanence, ego, and legacy?
It's taught me everything about it. My first year there, I didn't even know how to be at Burning Man my first year. And by the end, by the last day I was there, I was finally ready to be there, but I was really sad at it going away. And the next year I was a little bit sad about it going away. And over the years, I became very comfortable with the idea that you're only grasping the moment you're in while you're out there with the people that you're connected to.
Yeah.
And you're going to let that go in a minute or 5 minutes or an hour. And it's okay that it changes and goes away. And that's actually affected my work, because I do a lot of big company strategy and execution kind of stuff. And I've learned that the work that I do in those companies is simply building sandcastles that will be washed away by the next tide. And then I'm going to do another thing. And I can let go of the work that I do as well.
So I've never been to Burning Man either. I'm curious, do you connect to those people at all throughout the rest of the year? Or is it because I was in the Society for Creative Anachronism years ago, and there were people that you would only know at war, when you would get together, and you have no connection to beyond that. How is it with Burning Man?
So in some cases, there are people that I meet that's the only place I ever see them, and I never talk to them. But there are many people that I camp with that I stay in contact with every week, every month. There are some people that I've gone on vacation with. There was a period when I was very engaged with that community, and 16 of us would go off to Hawaii or to Mexico together. It just depends on who you connect with and how you connect.
Interesting.
So is there a part of you that only exists on the playa?
That is a great question. So I would say early in my time there, yes, because it was a place where I could really kind of just be myself in a most authentic way. But I've spent most of the last 25 years trying to find ways to export that sensibility off the playa into other parts of my life. So there's no place quite like Burning Man for the experience you'll have. But I do have little islands in the stream in my life now where I can go have at least a sense of that experience with people I care about and trust.
So you said I think if I read correctly, you're a mother, right? And
yes,
so your kids have come with you to.
Yes. So my daughter is now 20. Oh, she just turned 28. Her first time out at Burning Man was when she was 5. And she grew up just, having that kind of freedom of expression and knowing that there's a place for that. And she eventually has become a leader of the village that I'm in. And we're very close. We still spend a lot of time together.
So the closest I think I've come to the Burning Man experience, and a lot of people in this community I was in went to Burning Man, is working at summer camps, right? And I brought my kids to summer camp, and I remember my son, who's now 14, he was at camp when he was 18 months old, and he just wandered around. He was the mascot, and I know the feeling of that community that's outside the world, and it feels special, and you feel like you're part of this thing that doesn't exist in the regular world. And I think I experienced that at camp. I think that's why I was destined to go to Burning Man, and I don't think I ever went. But so I think that's the way. And a lot of people from my camp in Nevada City go to Burning Man every year, the one I worked at. So I don't know, maybe you know them. So did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just curious. When the city burns and everything is gone and everyone leaves, what lingers emotionally for you?
Yeah, if you get a chance to read my book, you're going to get a real sense of what that is to let go and release. I cut off the book before anybody gets off the playa for that experience off the playa, but you have a sense of what it's like to let go and then move on to the next thing. So what comes with me is that a sense of one of the principles of Burning Man is participation. And so there is no audience. There is no observers out there. You are part of the action regardless of what's going on. And that's actually a frightening place for me. I've often said I have many friends that are artists. I call myself the stage manager because I don't necessarily want to be on the stage, but I love being around it. And so having that sense of safety to participate, no matter what you look like, is something that I've tried to take off the playa with me.
That's sort of, I mentioned the SCA. It was always one of the things that was between it and the Renaissance fairs, that the SCA, the public was welcome but not invited, whereas for the Renaissance fairs, they were a performance put on. So it sounds like Burning Man is much more similar to the SCA in that, or the SCA is more similar to Burning Man in that it is, everyone who's there is part of it.
You're in. Yeah.
At 80,000, is that a single city or is it multiple towns within it?
Well, she said villages, so there's obviously.
Right. I mean, it's like if
is that one settlement of tents of 80,000 over a day?
Well, no, obviously there's groups, but what I'm trying to get to is if you had 100 people who went to Burning Man for the first time, and you sent them in from sort of random directions, how likely is it they are to have any kind of vaguely similar experience? I mean, or how homogenous versus how granular is that 80,000 person encampment?
So let me answer that in two different ways. First, I'll answer structurally, and then I'll talk about it from a individual experience. Structurally, the city is built on this grid that has this clock structure that goes from 2 o'clock on one side all the way to 10 o'clock on the other, and it has multiple streets in a radius rings going back. So it's structured to be very easy to navigate and find yourself no matter where you are. The man sits in the middle. He's half a mile away from any city structures, and then you get onto the city grid, the roads. And if you're a placed camp like we are, you get assigned a space that you get to populate however you want to populate it. And most of the spaces out at Burning Man are now spaces that are assigned, but there still is some free space in the back. So there's a reasonably strong structure to find yourself a way around, and you are in a city. You have neighbors and you have people around you. But to get to that second part of your question, it's the individual experience is very granular. It's very specific to you, where you're coming from, how you entered the event, what your experiences were before you came in, and what your experiences are on the playa. 90% of Burning Man happens spontaneously. So you are undoubtedly, even if you're going from point A to point B, you're going to have experiences that are different than anybody else that you're with.
I think that's probably true for lots of things. So I have to ask you this, and please admonish me and yell at me if you don't want to speak about this. But I know it's been going on for many, many years. And last year was the first year there was a pretty significant tragedy. There was a murder happened. How did that affect I believe that was the first murder in its history, right? I know people have died in the past, but that was the first. So how did the community, how did that rock the community?
Yeah, so there's somebody has died most years out there for different reasons. It's Disneyland without any safety equipment, so people will do stupid things or whatever, and they'll die. This last year was the first time that a murder occurred, but most of us didn't hear about it until we were off the playa. So we processed it either individually or in small groups of folks. We've talked about it. It's hard to get our heads around. And there hasn't been a lot of information about what happened. So it's clearly murder has never happened in 20 years.
That's but not many cities can say there's been no murder in 20 years. So that's probably so that actually, how, because since you've been involved with it for so long, as it's grown from that, how do you keep the essence of something like that pure to what it starts as, at the same time increasing by an order of magnitude in terms of the number of people involved? I mean, there's sort of a social contract, kind of, but how do you maintain that?
It's interesting because you're speaking from an assumption that there was purity from the beginning, and it really wasn't like that.
Interesting.
It started in San Francisco, and it was done on Baker Beach a couple times until it became too big, and then Larry Harvey moved it out to the playa because he was involved with a group called the Cacophony Society that would go out on the desert and shoot at things and blow things up out there. So the original 90s version of Burning Man up to 96 was pretty wild and woolly and kind of crazy without any structure. And in 96, a couple people died due to accidents, and they made the decision that it needed to be more structured, and it became more structured. During those early years, and when I was out there, because I started in 2000, during those early years, it would be, you'd have this group of people that were kind of like-minded, and then by about Thursday or Friday, we would have this experience of having what's called the Yahoos show up. And the Yahoos were people that were just coming in for the last minute, just to see the spectacle, just to leer and be kind of jerks. And that was something we just dealt with as an experience out there. But by the early mid-2000s, by the mid-2000s, the tickets sold out. And that completely changed things for the event. Because people bought their tickets early, it was only people out there that wanted to be out there, that were being fairly responsible about how they were going out there. And so it actually cleaned up the environment, because it almost made it like it was exclusive. And every year the organization tries to figure out how to make it a little safer and a little easier to navigate.
That's interesting. I'm so ignorant of this. I hadn't even realized there were tickets that you purchased.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure they're not cheap, but I can't help thinking of my logistic brain. It's going like, is there safety? Is there police out there? Like, what happens if you get threatened by someone and you're not safe? Like, do you just have to run and hide from them? Or is there some system of police and security there on site?
So there's some interesting layers. The Burning Man organization has a number of volunteer groups, people that just do things out of contribution. And they run the gates, and they run the greeter station, and they light the lamps and stuff. One of the groups is called the Rangers, and the Rangers are there specifically for safety issues, helping people that are in trouble, et cetera, et cetera. But the event, because it's on federal land, also has to negotiate and pay for police presence out there. So there's county sheriffs, there is Bureau of Land Management folks out there, there's even FBI out there. And there's kind of a strain between the burners and those folks, but we maintain a detente, so to speak.
So, wow, cool. I mean, I'm really fascinated to learn about all of this. So, okay. Wow, I thought you were.
Well, it also sounds like if something did happen that you're talking about, you just run and hide, the odds are you wouldn't have to run very far before you'd be surrounded by people who were willing to help you.
Yeah, there's an event in my book that in which this woman is accosted, and she's accosted in the back streets of the city, so there aren't a lot of people around. That's typically pretty unusual, because most of the places you go, there are people, and people are generally very protective of each other out there. So there's kind of a casual keeping of safety out there all the time. I know when I'm out and about, I'm always looking for making sure people are okay.
Yeah, I know with all the SCA events, there would always be, everyone would volunteer to do like a 2-hour constabulary shift. So it sounds a little bit probably like what the Rangers are there. I mean, everybody takes a shift making sure that people are being safe,
Yeah. Yep. And that's exactly what the Rangers do. That their job is to patrol and make sure that everybody's safe and sound and they aren't going through a bad experience or whatever, that they're taken care of.
Wow, great. So let's talk about your book. We want people to know about your book and buy the book. It's called Playa Dust in My Soul, right? And when it's published now, it's available in stores. And where can we get it?
The easiest way to get it is on Amazon. You can go to my website, playadustinmysoul.com. It's the words of the title of the book, Playa Dust in My Soul, but they're all together, one big word, .com. And that's the easiest way to find it. And it'll give you a link to go purchase it, it gives you a link to get hold of me if you want to talk to me as well.
So I understand that this was kind of a collaboration between your daughter and you, right? You co-developed the narrative and created the artwork. So what did it feel like to create across like generations like that?
So it took me 20 years to write the book. And it took me 20 years because I was not a novelist when I started. I had this idea for a story. Nobody else would write it. So I decided to write it. And my first several versions of it just weren't close to where it needed to be a story to tell.
Yeah.
And over that time, I had lots of people read it, and several people just got on the bandwagon for me to really finish this book and turn it into the story that it is now. My daughter became my conscious of the book. So I would do a version and I would hand it to her, and she would read through it and say, this character wouldn't do that way. And it was awesome. So she became my sounding board for everything that happened in the book. And there's nothing that is in that book that she hasn't reviewed and said, yeah, that's exactly how it should be. And during she was young when she started reading it. She grew up, she became a graphic artist. So all the art in the book and the cover art is all hers.
Is the story set within the context of Burning Man, or is it outside of that?
So my first several versions started outside of that and had backstories, et cetera, et cetera. It was just way too much. It would have taken 3 books to get through it. And so what I've done is I've confined the story to only when people land on the playa. And it's 7 different characters, and they're coming from 7 very different perspectives. There's one guy that's on what's called the DPW crew, the Department of Public Works, the folks that go out there and lay out the grid and put up the nascent structures, et cetera. So he's working on the crew several weeks before Burning Man even starts. And then characters start to trickle in, and one is an artist who builds an installation, and another one is a guy who's built an art car, and he's having an experience in his art car out there. And then each character comes in with this very different perspective, so they have very different experiences of Burning Man.
And are they each experiencing sort of the same set of events from those different perspectives, or are the 7 stories largely separate, just sort of crossing each other at a few points?
So yes and yes. They of course are going through the rhythms of Burning Man, which it starts on Sunday, and then it goes through the week, and it ends on a Monday, and everybody goes off to Playa again. So the rhythms are the same for everybody. Wherever they land on the Playa, they start in that rhythm with everybody else. But each one's experience is very unique and different. And I did that on purpose so that the reader would get a 360 lived view of what it's like to be in Burning Man, rather than the spectacle, the dancing, or this thing that happened or that thing. But they have this real lived experience of what it's like to have to wake up sweaty in a tent and go to a porta potty and all the things that you have to do at Burning Man to kind of get through the day.
So I can't help thinking, it sounds like a wonderful experience, but somebody with gorgeous, ginger hair like me and white skin, am I gonna? Well, you've got the same kind. You're not gonna die out there from sun exposure and stuff. And I mean, is there shade? Yeah.
It gets very hot. It gets very cold. It gets dusty. It gets rainy. So and it could be a very mild year, and you have none of the above. But you have to go out there expecting anything and anticipating everything. But I have plenty of friends that keep themselves under hat and zinced up and et cetera, et cetera. I have friends that go out there that have asthma, and the dust doesn't seem to affect asthma at all. So we take all takers. We have one camper who is wheelchair bound, and we just make sure that we have paths through the village so she can make it through and do what she needs to do.
So sometimes these communities of people take their community very, very seriously. Did you get any pushback from people in the community saying you're revealing all our secrets, you shouldn't be talking about this? Did you get anything like that?
Well, if you think about it, over the years, 80,000 people a year, et cetera, there's been a lot of people out at Burning Man. Yeah. So there is no secrets per se. I mean, there's no ritual. There's purposefully, they don't even make a purpose about why the man is burnt. It's you get to assign your own reason for it. So there's no real secrets. The thing that I might be on the edge of here, and I've gotten some criticism about, is that Burning Man is a non-commodification event. In other words, there's no buying, selling, bartering. There's only gifting things. So I am selling a book about Burning Man, and I've gotten some pushback there. My position on it is I see it as a gift to burners and a gift to people who have never been to have an experience, even if they never go, for what Burning Man's like. And I'm not going to make my living on this book. So um, I'm charging enough to kind of cover the cost that it took to publish the book, but that's about it.
Well, I mean, but the book is about your lived experience, right? And so it's about your story, and you own your story and stuff like that.
I don't think she's saying that there's a legal.
I know. I didn't think
claim,
that.
But
I didn't think illegal, but I'm
sort
saying
of that social compact of if it's there as that whole gifting, it's like like presumably there is no secondary market in Burning Man tickets because that would be considered wrong.
Well, there's actually people have been there are groups of people that can get easy access to tickets because they have seated villages. I know one person that got her access to tickets taken away because she did a secondary market sale.
Because that is against the whole fundamental spirit.
So
it's ethos. Yeah.
So I understand the no commodity and the bartering thing at Burning Man, but every aspect of the planning and stuff outside Burning Man, they believe in that philosophy and everything. Like there's no selling or paying people for their time.
If you're making money on the idea before or after, how do you?
But I thought that when you go,
to you, Sarah, not to me.
You, Sarah, yeah. So like people are making money before and after, right? I mean, the tickets aren't cheap. There's some money being made, and I'm sure they're spending it all on the.
The tickets are now upwards of they're over $400, getting close to $500 a year. When I first started, they were like $120.
Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought they were $1,200, to be honest.
Yeah. So no, they're relatively still as cheap as possible. They cover costs, but to your point, there is this constant tension between, okay, we're not about money out here, etc. How much did it cost to get all your stuff and get out there? How much? How many burnerware items did you buy before you went out there? What's there? And even out there are services. For example, some of the people in my camp have RVs and vans, and they will contract with somebody to come in and do service on their vans so that they have water, et cetera, et cetera. So there is kind of a gray area that is in tension with the no commodification rule that has always been a part of Burning Man.
Yeah, well, some people have to get paid, like the police are getting paid, the people. But like, okay, so does this event really cost $32 million to put on? Because 80,000 times 400 is 32 million. Is that the cost for this event?
I would say, there's a couple things. The event, it costs a lot because they are paying for the police. They are paying for the BLM for spending time and potentially damaging the playa. They pay people to stay there, the DPW crew, and clean it all the way back to pristine. They provide, with some of those monies, they provide some grants to the local towns. The closest one is there's Empire and Gerlach out there, and they give money to them. And there's a Native American reservation that you have to go through to get there, and they also provide funding to them as well.
Just getting sufficient water for one person out to the Mojave is not going to be.
Isn't the person supposed to be radical self-reliance? Supposed to bring your own water?
So you bring everything yourself, you said.
Yeah, so you bring everything.
Yes, you bring your own water, and I generally go a little heavy, so I always have extra. I bring 2 gallons a day for myself and anybody else that I take out there.
Did it start raining where you are?
It just started raining.
Oh, yeah. I heard I thought it was May. I just heard.
We have 2 skylights here.
Yeah.
And when it starts to come down, I'm sorry about the noise.
No, it's okay. I like the rain. I'm Irish. So let's go back to your book and talk about your characters. You seem to be drawn to these characters that rebuild themselves. Why do you think you're pulled towards those thresholds? Like type of characters?
So there's a couple of things I was trying to accomplish by having 7 different characters. One is I wanted to have archetypes for the kinds of people that I have met and known out at Burning Man, and I wanted to be able to capture the event and the feelings and the experiences that those characters each have, which are all very different.
Yeah.
Wealthy people are going to have a different experience than poor people at the event. Newbies are going to have a different experience than veterans. And I wanted to encapsulate all those, but each of the characters are all a little bit of me. There is a trans character in there, and she most closely emulates me, although she's a lot more messy and dramatic than any of my experiences. But each of the characters has a piece of some experience that I have, or somebody that I've met that I absolutely know like that.
Wow. Cool. I mean, so we researched for the show. We researched you and who you are and looked at your book. And so this is a storytelling podcast. And I will ask you in a little bit if you have any excerpts you'd like to read from your book, but we'd like you to indulge us for a few minutes. We wrote a tribute story to you and to your life and to what we could find about you. So we're going to have the sultry voice of Howie right now. He's right here on my right. You can see him. Look how pretty he is. Yeah. And this is Russ over here. Okay. We're going to have him, if you'll indulge us, he's going to read your story right now.
Oh, fabulous. That's awesome.
Okay, so here it is.
There was a girl who grew up under wide skies. The kind of skies that make you small in the right way. Hawaii first, ocean, breath, and volcanic patience. Then the Sierra foothills, granite and pine, and the kind of silence that listens back. She learned early that land has intelligence, that desert and forest speak differently, that belonging is not that belonging is not about walls, but about orientation. She would spend her life orienting. She joined the Navy, steel corridors, discipline, precision. She learned systems. She learned how structure shapes behavior. She learned that leadership is about authority and is less about authority and more about responsibility. Then she stepped into technology, optimization, scale, frameworks that hold thousands of lives inside their logic. She learned how cities of code rise. But somewhere in her, the girl under wide skies never left. After 1 year, she walked onto a flat white desert where a city would appear out of nothing. Black Rock City, a place where art burns, where dust erases hierarchy, where strangers become chosen family. She did not go as a tourist. She built, she led, she returned again and again and again, 20 times. Long enough to see the arc of impermanence, long enough to understand that what vanishes can still transform you. She moved between worlds that rarely acknowledge each other, submarine and service and sacred ritual, boardrooms and fire circles, enterprise strategy and ecstatic dance. Most people pick a lane. She picked the crossing. And somewhere in those crossings, a story began. It did not come easily. It did not come quickly. It waited. 20 years of living, 20 years of gathering dust, watching people reinvent themselves, watching systems fail, and communities rise. The story refused to be categorized. It was about Burning Man, but not really. It was about coming of age, but not exactly. It was about myth, but not fantasy. It was about the moment when a person stands in the dust and asks, who am I when the structures fall away? Now that story has a name, Playa Dust in My Soul. But the novel is only the visible part. The real work has always been the same, listening, crossing, building something meaningful, even if it will not last. Because sometimes the most honest cities are the ones that disappear.
Okay. You think of that? Do you think it captured?
That was amazing. I wish I'd written that.
Well, I will send it to you after the fact. There's something else we wrote for you, a tribute poem, but I wanted to give you the opportunity right now, if you had something from your work that you wanted to read. this would be a good time.
Let me grab my book.
Okay.
I have a pile of them. Let me grab one. Just 1 second.
Okay.
I think what I want to do is just start at the beginning, because the beginning grounds you in being there in a way that I think no other part of the book really gives that introduction. So I'm just going to start right at the beginning. Reuben hadn't seen open space like this in years. Beyond a friendly park or an open stretch of road, this was raw and vast and blinding. An ocean of dust under a sun that didn't know how to blink. The desert rolled out in front of him like a dare. "Drink this, Reuben, and keep drinking," said the driver, passing him a bottle of warm water. Her voice was bone dry, no nonsense. "You get careless out here, the playa will chew you up." He nodded, unscrewed the cap, and took a long swig of the tepid liquid. It tasted like second chances. The bottle was warm, almost hot again in his palm. 4 years of drinking what they gave you, when they gave it to you, had trained him not to care. But this was different. Nobody was going to count how many times he drank today. Nobody was logging his movements. The thought made his chest tight. He screwed the cap back on slowly, testing the simple freedom of deciding when to stop. The truck groaned over a rise, and the truck groaned over a rise in the dirt road, tires spitting up clouds of fine grit. Then, without ceremony, the world fell away. A vast, bone-colored lake bed spread before them, so flat it felt unnatural. On the far side, nothing but distant high desert and baked granite ridges. On the near side, a crooked clutch of trailers and skeletal structures half swallowed by heat shimmer. Reuben squinted. "I don't see much out there." "That's because you're looking the wrong way," she said, jutting a thumb out the window. "We're headed that way." He turned his head. The playa stretched out to the ends of the earth, chalky, endless, and absurdly empty. But there, miles away, a scatter of strange shapes broke the nothingness. Too far to identify, too weird to ignore, he raised his eyebrows. "Yep," she said, "that's home for the next month or more. By the end of it, a whole city will rise up out there, parties, temples, towers, art cars of unusual size. Then poof, gone again, like it was never there." Reuben let out a laugh. "Thud, my friend? I'll take that over my last home any day." She grinned. "I feel that." The truck rolled off the road and onto the hard-packed playa, but there was no water, just cracked earth and space and sky. Thud cranked the fan to full blast. "Windows up, let's make some time," she said. He complied, rolling up his window with a creaky whine as the truck surged forward, kicking up a wake of the almond-colored powder. "Seriously, drink water all night and take some ibuprofen before bed. We're at altitude and this place is bone dry. You'll get your ass handed to you if you don't stay ahead of it. You're now a member of Burning Man's Department of Public Works, DPW for short. If you fuck up, including taking care of yourself, DPWers are merciless." He could tell this was not a gesture of maternal concern. She wanted to make sure he wouldn't flake, wouldn't fail. She was taking a chance on him, and he knew it. The old truck glided across the playa like it was a skimming glass, dust boiling out from under the truck in an ochre wake. Reuben marveled at how quickly the strange shapes on the horizon came into focus. Trailers, tents, a partial wooden structure, the edge of something. "I'm loving the speed out here," he said. "Enjoy it while it lasts. When the event starts, it drops to 5 miles an hour." The truck pulled up alongside the trailers. Thud hopped out, boots hitting the dust with her signature thud. Reuben followed less gracefully. Thud gestured to the trailers and crude structures. "Welcome to the DPW ghetto, our home on the playa." They made their way to the tailgate. She handed him another bottle of water. "Finish that in the next 20 minutes, she said. "Trust me." The crew appeared as they unloaded the truck, stepping out from the shadows and shade. One familiar face grinned. "Reuben, my man." "Hey, Lenny," Reuben smiled, embracing him in a dusty, back-pounding hug. Thud gestured to the group with the force of a general. "You know Lenny. That's Squeaker, Bunny Boy, Snag, Stitch, and Shakespeare." "Fucking right," Shakespeare said. "The name's ironic," Lenny offered. "I'm getting that," Reuben replied. "Want a beer?" Bunny Boy asked. "Nah," Reuben waved him off. "Budweiser let me know 4 years ago I hit my lifetime limit. They revoked my license." Laughter rippled through the group as the message landed. Reuben would not imbibe. They accepted him, at least for the time being. Thud glanced up at the sun. "It's starting to cool. Get settled. Tomorrow you'll build, and you'll need to keep up." She nodded towards the half-built structure. "I thought you lot would have the living room done by now." "We were pacing ourselves," Bunny Boy smirked. "You'll have your palace by nightfall." "Good," said Thud. Then she turned to Reuben. "You'll be tempted to help tonight. Fine, but take it easy. The Playa breaks people who try to prove something on day one." Reuben's hand snapped to an automatic salute, which triggered laughter throughout the crowd. Thud cleared her throat and scanned the horizon. The sun hung low above the jagged ridge to the west. The heat was fading, replaced by a warm breeze that hinted at the coming night. Reuben took in the desolate beauty, the bigness of it, the ridiculous promise. Speaking to no one specifically, Thud declared law. "I want the living room up tonight. We have bigger fish to fry and need it up and operating." The crew was silent. "I'm happy to jump in and work on it," Reuben volunteered. "There you go, ignoring me right out of the gate," Thud's jaw jutted out. A slight lopsided grin pulled the corner of her mouth. "You'll fit right in here." Chuckles erupted from the crew. Thud clapped Reuben on the shoulder. "Don't fuck up." Reuben's eyebrows raised, considering warmth.
Continue hearing this story at go to Sarah Marshall's website, playadustinmysoul.com, and buy the book, right? Available wherever books are sold. So thank you for that. It's you reached my limit of that F word, because I think I can say 3 in my show without getting marked. So thank you I'm glad we didn't say any before. So
yeah, the water discipline.
Okay, I picked the worst crew to do that.
I said the water discipline out there must be non-negotiable.
Everything disciplined, because nothing can drop on the ground. So if people smoke, they smoke into a tin, so they capture all the ash. You put cardboard under your vehicles to capture any drippings. It's the idea is you leave nothing there that you didn't bring on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. In what Howie read, it mentioned that we hadn't talked about your naval service at all. You were a submariner?
Yeah, I had special duty. I was in military intelligence, and I was in submarine duty initially, and I remained in submarines, but I became a deep sea diver, and I did special missions, deep sea diving.
Special missions.
Enough said. I was going to ask if whether you were on the boomer side of things or the attack boat side of things, because if you weren't on the right crew, it would mess up the whole ability to do Burning Man if you were gone for the wrong 6 months. Or did you start after your naval career?
I started long after my naval experience, okay. And you're right. I don't know that I could have gone out there because I had a top secret clearance, and I had to get permission to do just about anything. But I started out in attack boats, and then I went on into special service submarines.
Yeah, which we won't ask you anything more about.
Well, yeah, she doesn't want to say it. So you've lived.
I mean, we'd love to know, but I don't think you can probably even now say much of anything.
Well, if you ever want to know, there's a book that somebody wrote about that kind of service called Blind Man's Bluff, and if you ever want to read about what I did, read that book.
Interesting.
How long were you in the naval service? You've been allowed to tell us that?
Yeah, I was in for 6 years, and then I got out and went to college.
Okay. So you've lived in nature, you lived in metropolis. So where do you feel most yourself?
Yeah, I would have to stay. I've been living in a metropolitan area in the San Francisco Bay Area for years. But if I need a steam valve, I head out to nature, and there's a lot of great places. There's redwood groves 5 minutes away from my house, so I'm very much a nature person. And like you said, I've spent a lot of my time out in the wild. Even in college, I lived in South Dakota, so I was in the Black Hills. I lived in Wyoming. I love stark, open country.
Yeah, wow, cool. So you've done all these things, strategist, you've been in the naval service, you've done like Burning Man. What questions are you still asking that refuse an easy answer?
I think for the rest of my life, and I would say philosophically, I'm not religious, but philosophically, I'm more Buddhist than anything else. So the question that I always am trying to get to in my life is, how do I reduce suffering? How do I reduce my own suffering? How do I reduce the suffering of others? And there's so much to suffer over in the world, just in normal life, let alone in the polarized environment we are. Yeah. So I'm always looking for ways to reduce that pain.
Okay, wow. So before we do the closing, I would like to have Russ, if he's game, I kind of throwing it on me. Are you going to read the poem for us?
Sure.
This is your tribute poem, which is related to, I think the sultry voices of Russ here. I mean, what do we have? What were your voices? I don't know.
It's sultry.
I said sultry. Oh, dulcet and sultry. Okay, here we go.
Oh. So this one's title is still just poem.
Oh, I don't know why the title is just poem. I don't know.
All right. Dust does not ask who you were before you arrived. It settles the same on engineer and wanderer, on veteran and mystic, on mother and mythmaker. A city rises, a city burns, a city becomes memory. You return not to relive it, but to be reshaped by it. Some build monuments of stone, some build companies of code. You build thresholds. And every time you step across one, you leave a little structure behind and carry a little sky forward.
Well, that was a short poem.
That was short.
That was it.
Both of those both those readings that you did were very moving for me. They really hit something deep inside me.
Wait, I will send them to you, and they're yours to use and keep in any way that you would like. But wow, this is so tell us a little bit about the book has been out. Did we talk about this already? It's been out for how long? Is this something?
It's been out for just over a month.
Okay.
If you look on the site, I've already got 8 really nice what do you call them? References?
Reviews, yeah.
Reviews. Thank you. So I've got 8 really nice reviews. A lot of people are still deep in the reading. It's not a short book. It's not too long, but it's not a short book, so it takes a while to get through. And the people that have read it so far have come back to me and said that it lives with them after they finish it. Like they're still working on it well after they've closed the book.
Wow. Do you have any? I know this is what Doyle was going to ask in terms of timing on when this comes out. I know Burning Man this year is early September, so in terms of coming out, probably don't want it coming out after because that's a long way from now. But is there any time in the next 6 months that's preferable for you?
Oh, it's out. It's you can play it today if you want it.
The episode.
The episode. Oh, yeah. The episode. As soon as you like, it would be great. What I'm doing is I'm putting these really great interviews that I'm having on the website, on my website, so people will be able to click into it and listen to it.
Okay, well, we'll definitely coordinate that with you. What works best and what. But as we're closing, Sarah, if everything you've built, the frameworks, the roles, the identities, if they all fell away tomorrow, who would remain in the dust?
Every character that I've written is searching. They're travelers, they're spiritual travelers of some type and variety, and they're searching for their own answers in themselves. So we do that anywhere we are. That's who's on the playa today, is somebody that is still wandering and still open to whatever is next.
And so you would recommend everybody should give it a try, or maybe not, it's not for everybody, but if people are wondering who can they speak to and where can they research to see if it's something that it's for them.
So I and my daughter have put together extensive, if you're going to Burning Man, here's the stuff you need to do. So yeah. I'm definitely a resource for that. But I wrote the book in a way that if you've been to Burning Man and you're experienced with it, there's a lot of Easter eggs in there for you. And if you've never been to Burning Man and you have no experience of it, you will, even if you never go, feel like you have a good idea of what Burning Man is.
Great. Well, thank you. Is there any, before I do my closing remarks, is there any closing statements you wanted to, or anybody have anything else before we go to okay, he's looking at me like, why are you asking me? Do you have anything else to say before we?
I love this interview. It was great. I haven't had a chance to read my book on the interview before, on an interview before. It was really nice to be able to do that. You guys are lovely. I really enjoyed spending time with you, and thank you for the experience.
Wow. Thank you for that. I really enjoy the opportunity to have these conversations with people who have so much depth and so much and do so many things like yourself and the people I got to talk to. I appreciate it. I want it to be authentic. I want it to be real. I want it to be a real conversation that feels like an intimate. This is why I'm so close to my microphone. He always likes to tease me about that. I like it to be kind of this intimate. We're sitting, having a coffee, talking on the porch, and we're talking about your life and what's important and the important things that you give the world. And that's a cool opportunity. It's a privilege for me to do it. Thank you.
Well, you were looking at me and interpreting my expression, but I was really thinking at the moment was it's like, well, none of the things that I want to, that I'd want to, start coming up we can handle in the next 7 minutes. This is really one of those people where we could actually really easily use a second hour.
Well, I mean, then we'll book her for a second hour. I mean, we'll book her for a second hour. We'll do it again. And I really appreciate you coming on. Let me do my closing remarks, okay? So if something in tonight's conversation stirred in you, a restlessness, a longing for community, a curiosity about who you are and the structures, when the structures dissolve, stay with it. Transformation is not an event, it's a practice. You can learn more about Sarah Marshall and her novel Playa in the Dust at her website,
PlayaDustInMySoul.com.
Well, yeah.
And don't forget that third W.
What did I say? You could. Well, what did I do wrong?
Dust.
Okay. You can learn more about Sarah Marshall and her novel in Playa Dust in My Soul at PlayaDustInMySoul.com. The desert may be temporary, but the questions it asks are not. This is Spirit Talk Show. Thank you, Sarah, for coming on, and I really appreciate the time you spent with us. Say goodnight, guys.
Good night.
Good night, Sarah. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, gentlemen. This has been awesome.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure. Like I say, in the stuff we could spend a bunch more time on is just getting your take from the inside on what's going on with AI at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Would be.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on that. I just wrote an article on it.
Wait,
oh, did you?
Well, I didn't press pause yet. Let's talk.
Sure.
So what's going on with it?
So I was at Google when ChatGPT became hot. And in fact, we had built our whole strategy ready to go, started January 1st with our new strategy. And by January 15th, ChatGPT had hit 100,000 people. So we had to chuck this beautiful strategy that I'd worked on with the organization and build a whole new strategy to deal with putting large language models into the stack. At that point, I just, like everybody else, was trying to get my head around it. At this point, I'm a pretty strong power user for just doing research and questions, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing that's coming next that has really hit me hard, and the reason I wrote an article, is agentic AI is the thing that is being developed. And the way that works is it takes the concept of generative AI, these large language models, and puts it into little package structures to go do a process. It's a task generator. And so what's going to happen next, and what's happening at Google today, in fact, they are offering people packages to leave if they don't want to be part of this, is what's happening at Google today is they are telling everybody that they have to become architects of these agentic AI tools. And instead of just doing their regular job, they are architecting the structure to do their job, which is very different from people's jobs in the past. And that's happening now at Google. But within a few years, everybody is going to be creating custom, instead of buying platforms to do stuff, they're going to be building custom little tools to do whatever they need to do. And that will change every company's life and every person's life. And so my article is about your cup is already full and it's about to get flooded with this whole agentic AI phenomena.
Wow. Interesting.
I'm fascinated.
Did you ever read any Gibson or other classic cyberpunk novels?
Yep. Yes, I have. And it's for me, I'm still, this is as interesting as this technology is, it's still in the early stages. So it hasn't turned into anything that's going to be like what it portends in sci-fi novels yet.
Right. What you're describing though are like the nascent smart frames, the sort of dedicated full thing that goes off to do, the packaged,
Well, eventually we're going to get to those agents writing themselves. So it's going to be a very different world in 5 years than it is now.
And it's a very different world it is now than it was 5 years ago. I use probably a power user of GPT-2, and it's amazing the stuff that you can
do. I'm going to guess that anything we might call a power user of ChatGPT is going to be a whole different level of order of magnitude than Sarah.
Well, I mean, you don't know what I do, so
that's true.
Yeah, okay. Well, wow, Sarah, I want to have a whole episode talking about that with you.
Yeah, no, we could easily burn.
We are eating up. Yeah, but you know what? We're going to have you back, and we're going to talk about that. But thank you so much for coming on.
Love to do it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for spending time with us. Now go make a story worth telling.